The Center for Unhindered Living presents Plus-Sized Polyamory with Judy McNabb, where our motto is, don't follow the crowd, follow your heart. Okay. So welcome to episode 8. Today we're going to interview Coen Naninck, and he is the author of the curvyshrine.com website as well as the Curvy Shrine YouTube channel. Excuse me, there's an ambulance going by outside. I'm sorry. So thank you for being with us today, Coen.
Thank you for having me.
So what made you decide to start the Curvy Shrine YouTube channel?
Well, the YouTube channel came forth out of the website, basically. For a long time, I had been walking around with this idea for a website called BBW Shrine at the time. A couple years later, I renamed it to Curvy Shrine. I actually conceived the original idea on May 8th, 2008. And I remember exactly where I was walking. I was downtown, and I was partly frustrated by society's view of plus-size women. I wasn't really aware a lot of all the discrimination, but I knew it was going on. But it was also very much for me, a desire to express my passion for plus-size women. And later that morphed into just curvaceous women, because not every curvaceous woman is plus-size. So I started writing articles for that website, and then I launched it I think about a year later or so. And then eventually I got this desire to express what I was writing in stories, and at the time on Facebook and MySpace and other places. I got this really burning desire inside of me to verbalize that on video. I hesitated for a long time because I had my insecurities, predominantly my teeth were spaced, and I didn't like smiling on camera and stuff. And then I participated in a TV program, which was supposedly about promoting plus-size women and stuff, but it turned out to be a very different, derogatory program. But that, I guess, was the first step of me actually doing YouTube. And then about 6 months later, I think, I don't know exactly when it was, but I uploaded my first YouTube video, and that was on November 8, 2012, and it had such a great reception. A lot of people that were already following me on Facebook and through my website and stuff. So I got subscribers pretty quickly. And then after a while, what happened was I started getting letters from women and also from men. And that's how the different topics on the channel kind of formed. So.
Okay, great. And I understand that you're not from the United States. Do you mind telling us what country you're in?
I'm in the Netherlands, also known as Holland.
Okay.
The lowlands. It's a country to the west of Germany.
Okay.
So it's just diagonally below, somewhat below England, actually.
Okay. So if people visit your channel, they'll see some videos in English and some videos in Dutch?
Yeah, that's I started the Dutch videos about I'd say about 9 months ago. I created those videos primarily not because I wanted to address a Dutch audience per se, because then I might as well make German videos and any videos that I know the language of. Actually, I don't know the German that well, but my primary goal with those videos were to attract Dutch women and men to the channel, so I could interview those women and men for the channel, hopefully also couples. And I've met some interesting people since then, but I just haven't had any interviews come from it. But it may happen in the future.
Okay. So do you find that there are differences in the way plus size women are viewed in your country as opposed to the United States?
Um, well, I mean, we always say here that, or a lot of people say that a lot of things are similar as they are in my country. So they're similar in the U.S., but they're just larger, and that goes for that goes for physical things like shops, malls, and also grocery store products like bag of chips, um,
Right.
like a regular
Everything,
bag of chips.
everything is supersized here, in other
Yeah,
words.
but it also goes for the admiration and for the discrimination, and or I should say the discrimination, the admiration. So it's, I mean, of course, it's a bigger country. You have 300 million people there. Last I checked, and here we have, I believe, 17 or 19 million. So that's, but relatively speaking, the whole movement is more accepted. There's a more of an acceptance in the U.S., but then there's also the counter to that where there's more discrimination. So the fat shaming is, I would say, it's much larger than here. So
Right. Yeah, I did watch one of your videos last night and noticed in the video I was watching, you pointed out someone who was walking by and said, wow, in the United States, that person would be considered average, but here they're considered large.
um, yeah, I don't know, I don't recall which video that was, but I do know that happens sometimes, and that definitely is the case where in the US it would not be considered plus size, but here would definitely be considered plus size.
Okay.
And what would be an SS BBW here would be a BBW in the US.
Okay.
I'm
So
not
what is,
I'm not I'm not in favor of those terms, by the way, but it's the most easy term
right,
to use.
right, yes. Um, so what is it about plus size women that you find attractive?
Well, it's hard to describe on one hand, but then it's also easy in the sense that men like softness with women, and women like muscles. And I mean, of course, there's women who like different things, and men who like different things. There's some men that like hard bodies on women, and there's women that like soft bodies on men. But in general, I'm like the traditional man. I like softness in a woman, and when I see a woman who is plus size, and I would also like to use the word fat, but I don't know if you have any problem with that word. I don't have a problem with that word. I'd like to say, let's take back that word. Let's not,
Right,
let's disempower the people who use it against
right,
us. But so I a plus size woman slash fat woman slash curvaceous woman. um for me, it's just more softness. And you could say, well, okay, that's a physical thing, but then for me, it's definitely physically a thing for me. I always say, like, for me, it's 60% a visual thing, and I mean the thing as in the admiration of plus size women, because I'm not intent on objectifying plus size women. And it's 40% a physical thing. So for me, the sight of a plus size woman is actually, yeah, it's what really grabs me, so to speak.
okay, okay. So no specific attributes, just the softness.
Well, um, if I would answer that question in the way that I want to answer it, it would get. I mean, the thing is, and I've tried to do this in videos. Um, People really, they take stuff that I say out of context, and
Right,
they kind of, it's like they overlay their own version over it because of what
right,
they've heard other men talk about. And especially these, I have nothing against feminism. I used to call myself a feminist too, but the modern day feminism is nothing like the yesteryear feminism. And the modern day feminists, it's a lot of these woke women that really hate men, or a lot of them hate men. And you can't be yourself anymore, and explain what you really like without, oh, you have a fetish, oh, you're objectifying women, oh, it's just about a physical, oh, it's just about the sex, oh, it's just about this, that, and the other. And that's kind of what stops men from speaking out. And it hasn't
Right,
stopped me, but it's definitely in the past restricted me.
right. Well, I
So,
asked you, it's not like you volunteered it. I asked you to elaborate on that. And so, feel free to be honest.
well, okay. So some of the conversations that I have with male friends who also have this preference, we talk about how, for example, when you see BBW, let's say it's size 24, 26 woman, and she doesn't have to be that large, but when she has a belly, I've talked about the different shapes of belly. Now I know this is a podcast, so your viewers or your listeners won't see the gestures that I'm making now, but
Right,
I love to see, for example, one such woman that size, for example, her belly from the side, and then when there's a certain garment over it, like a fabric, it moves in a certain way, and I just find it really appealing. I find it incredibly sexy, and I know there's lots of men who find it sexy. They don't always admit it, but they find it sexy, and um, also different fabrics. Like if you take, for example, yoga pants on a woman with a fuller behind, or you see that same woman in silky clothing, it's a completely different experience for the eye, so to speak. And but
right,
that's just one example. I love when the sun is out and there's a building and a woman walks, plus say a size 26 woman BBW walks by that building, and I see how the shadows of that building cast on her different features. And I mean, it blows my mind, and that's also why I think I get nervous, because I find it so beautiful. I always say that when I get nervous, it's really an overload of the senses. It's like when let's say you're a woman who is just really attracted to men with a certain height, 6'7". I'm 6'7", or men who have a long beard. I don't, but there's women who are really into men with gray beards or groomed beards, and some women really rave about that, and they get nervous too. Well, for me, it's the same. The only difference is that when I talk about this, um, hang on, because there's a motor outside. It's distracting me. Um, yeah, the only difference is that what I talk about is not mainstream, and therefore it's considered out of the ordinary, a fetish,
right,
those things. So
right. Well, I have to say, when I was getting together with my second husband, we met online. And so as we were corresponding, we would go to different websites. And there was a website that he found, not yours. This actually was 2009. But it was one where people would write in about their stories about how they fell in love with someone who was larger. And just listening to them talk about the things that they liked about that person, um, it seemed like it's more out there than we realized. People just aren't talking about it.
yeah,
Um,
that's what a lot of things, unfortunately, and because of again, this woke culture, this cancel culture mentality out there. I have another YouTube channel, and last week I got called out by a black, it's about black women, and I got called out by a black woman who just looked at my title. She didn't watch the videos, and I got a lot of new views, a lot of views, a lot of new subscribers, which is positive, but I got a lot of negative people on it too. And it's just like people are very prejudiced when they see something, but they don't really look into it, or they don't understand it.
right,
And that's also to people who come on either of my channels, and they just look at the video titles, and they don't really watch the videos. The video
right,
titles are designed in such a way, like I'm a creator. I need to draw people to my channel. So I need to be creative with my titles without those titles being clickbait. But I still have to draw those people in. When I
right,
talk about this, or when I use titles, or even when I talk in videos and people watch that and they don't investigate further, or you just see one video of me, then what happens is they get these opinions, and they're really not based in any facts, because it's one video, or it's a couple of titles. And I also see this with men who talk about this in a setting that is not YouTube. For example, I've seen some TV programs, and you see the majority of the audience, ridicule. Well, not ridicule him, but they start laughing, and they start. And I mean, this is something that not only plus size women experience, but also those who admire plus size women. And
Right,
that makes it difficult for a lot of people to be open about this.
right, right.
I
I
hope I'm
to-
not going off on tangents too much in my answers, but
no, no, that's great. Um, so what is the difference between a fat admirer and a fat fetish?
well, I mean, a fat admirer can have a fetish, definitely. Um, but and let's see. So a fat admirer can have a fetish, but having a fetish does not always mean you're a fat admirer. Okay, so a fat admirer is someone who just likes a person that is fat. It can be a man too, like some women are fat admirers, and it doesn't matter depending on or it doesn't matter what sexual orientation they have. They can be straight, they can be gay, they can be bisexual. So fat admirer is someone. So let's say if I take myself, I'm a fat admirer, but I find it a bit of a misnomer just quickly because I am not attracted to the fat. I'm not attracted to the adipose tissue that is under the skin. I'm attracted to women who are fat and where the skin, it bulges and it creates the curves and the rolls and the jiggleness and all these things. So that's what I'm attracted to. But in and of itself, I'm also not attracted to just the features. I mean, for me, it's a whole body woman thing. I'm attracted to the woman. And it will be similar to, actually, I think it's pretty much the same to a woman being attracted to a muscular man. And if he loses some weight and if he loses the muscles, therefore, her attraction may be lessened. And but that's a different topic in and of itself, and you can ask me that later if you want. But that is for me what a fat admirer is: a man or a woman who's attracted to a fat person or a person who's curvaceous or has different parts of herself that are fat. Because there's some thin women out there, and they have like a large behind, or they have large breasts, or they have thick arms, or I've seen some thin women who are a size 6 or 8 with a double chin. So, and I happen to be the only guy that likes double chins, but or at least I haven't met anyone who does. But so a fat fetish, that is when it is like it's like it's not a preference. It's really something that they need in order to get turned on, and um, and that's not the only thing. I'm probably not the best person to ask this question, but I do know that a fetish is predominantly a sexual thing. And if I look at a plus size woman on the street, I always use this example. If I look at a plus size woman on the street, I don't get aroused by her. I do get aroused if I see a woman with very large breasts, say double H cup or something with deep cleavage. Then I get aroused, but also not always. It really depends on the moment, on the woman, on where I am, and with my health in that time. So that for me, a fetish is really when it's something sexual. And another reason why I say, I know this is not your question, but another reason why I say that it's not a fetish is because I I looked at my first plus size woman when I was 6 years old in a stack of magazines that I opened on the centerfold, and there she was. And I tell this story in a video and also in different other videos on Curvy Shrine. And, I mean, back then I had no sexual feelings whatsoever, but I was completely fascinated with seeing those women. And when I see those women now, the feeling is very similar. It's not exactly the same, but it's similar, and it's still the admiration is there, and it's not something that triggers me sexual. Now, is it not sexual for me? No, that's also not it. It is definitely sexual for me, that admiration, because I mean, if I'm sitting here in front of my computer, right, and this might get a little personal here or a little sensitive, but if I sit here and I start looking at porn, BBW porn, hell yeah, I get aroused, I get turned on. But that's not how I approach this topic. It is not first and foremost a sexual thing for me, or a sexual experience for me, or a
Okay.
sexual interest. Um,
The word that comes to mind for me is obsession. If it becomes an obsession, then
can I
to me,
just interject for a moment?
Mhm. Yes.
Thank you. So what I wanted to add to that is that which ties into something that I said about 10 minutes ago or 5 minutes ago, that when people see a video of mine, for example, I have a video about how does it feel to have a 400-pound woman, 400 lbs woman on top of me, and they look at that video and they see me describing all this detail, and I describe the whole scene as if you're almost the person watching that video is almost there, basically. And I'm not trying to toot my horn, but I'm particularly good at that, and that's why I do these videos. But then they see that video and they draw their conclusions based on that one video, because
Right.
I'm very vivid in my descriptions, because
Right.
I'm very detailed and elaborate a lot. And
Right.
that's what I wanted to say in relation to your question, because when I talk about this, I do get the feeling that, or I do understand that people see it as a fetish, but that's not what it is. I still ask myself if it is a fetish. Actually, I asked it myself tonight, but it's just not. Because for me, like I said, it's not first and it's not foremost a sexual thing.
Right. Okay, great. Thank you for clarifying that for us.
Sure.
So what are the top 3 tips that you would give to plus size women to help them get potential partners interested in them?
Oh gosh, I knew I should have written it down, because when I read that question, because you sent me questions, or at least some of the ones that you wanted to ask.
Right.
Well, the first one is probably the hardest one for a lot of women in general, also, and that's to be confident. But that's it's hard for women. Like when a man has to be confident, one thing that I always mention is practice semen retention, which is kind of like holding your seed in, holding your semen in. It's so easy. All you have to do is just not do anything for a couple of weeks, and you'll get loads of confidence. But with women, it works differently, because women don't produce semen. So with women, I would say fake it till you make it. Just wear something, and yeah, you'll have people looking at you, but if you can beat that, if you can get past that, you'll notice that it will actually increase your confidence, and that's what you want. You want to be confident. Another thing I would say is smile. I mean, look up and smile. Those two things are really, yeah, they're really two, but let's just use them as one. Just look and smile. I see so many women who are so curvaceous, beautiful, and they don't smile, or they kind of have this RBF face, a resting bitch face. Yeah, it's a term. Yeah, I don't like it, but it is what it is. And I look down, I look unhappy. And for me, if a woman smiles, it just automatically attracts me to her. And especially if I get the idea that she's confident, or maybe she fakes confident, because I can't see the difference if she fakes it or if it's real. And that's just part of the the confidence, showing confidence thing, or faking it. That's just part of the charm that women in general have. So I would say, use that. If you want to attract a man, use that. The third thing that I would say is, be friendly. Don't just be friendly to a guy walking up to you, but be friendly. Let's say that you see a man somewhere that you're interested in, and you see him often at the workplace, or somewhere else. It can be any place. Maybe like a dance club or something. The way you interact with people, because men are very visual, they will look at you, they will scan you, they'll look at your behavior. So when you talk to other people than him, be friendly, shoulders open, smile. You don't have to like force yourself, but just try to be as open and as friendly as possible. And again, have that open posture. Don't look down. Try to show confidence. And if you already are confident, then you don't even need to think about these things, because you just do it automatically. But I would say those 3 things would. Could you repeat the question again? Because I just want to see if I
Right.
have the nuance correct.
Okay. Do you have any tips for plus size women to help them get potential partners interested in them?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's physical. If you're on a dating site, I would say, you see, I have videos about this, so it's probably best if people.
Right.
The problem with the YouTube app on mobile is you can't search through a channel, but you can do that on desktop. So
Right.
there's a
Well,
little
and I
bit of-
encourage everyone to visit your channel and see all the videos. That'd be great.
Thank you. Excuse me. But so if you're on a dating site, I would recommend that you don't ever put on a plus size dating site that you're losing weight. Even if you are losing weight, look, everyone's always losing weight. But when I see a plus size woman who, especially when she's supposedly proud of her curves, and she starts talking about weight loss, and I'm like, well, what are you doing on a plus size dating site? It's like, I don't want to judge women for losing weight. I always encourage women to lose weight if that's what you want. But it looks off. It's like, oh, well, it's like they don't respect the fact that men are there specifically on a plus size date because they like plus size women. And when a man sees a woman say, I'm losing weight, then that automatically instills fear in them, because it's like a woman who is attracted to a man who's muscular and who says, no longer working out. Maybe not the best example, but that's something that women don't understand. A lot of women don't understand, about men, is that when you date men, you also have to accept that men are visual and physical creatures. So for women, it's different. They're also physical and visual, but for women, it's once they connect to a man, it doesn't really matter, what he, like if he works out a lot or if he maintains this or that. Once they love him, that connection is built. And for men, it's also a little bit like that. But for men, they are so visual. So when I see a woman that says, I'm losing weight, that's just, yeah. So that's something you shouldn't do. Have good pictures, have a full body picture on your profile, at least one. Show yourself from different sides, and not just so that guy can see what you look like, but more importantly, and this is what you probably wouldn't think of straight away, is when you do that, when you show yourself indoors, outdoors, different angles, with people, without people, when you do that, you show that you're proud of your body, and that you actually want to show it off. And that attracts the man, because again, that tells that guy that you're a confident woman.
Okay, great.
There's probably other tips, but my mind's blank.
Yeah, there are probably, but I wanted to keep it short.
All right.
So do you have any tips for plus size men? This is something that's not talked about a lot.
I couldn't hear what you said last about keeping it short.
I said, do you have any tips for plus size men? This is something.
But before that, you said something about wanting to keep the answer short or something. I didn't.
Oh, because this could be a 3-hour discussion about tips for how to attract people. So I just want to ask you for your top 3 so that we didn't have to make it a 3-hour interview. So, but that was very helpful though. Thanks. But yeah, I do want to talk about, is there any tips for plus size men? Because that's just not talked about, that's talked about even less than plus size women.
Yeah, I honestly, I saw that question, and I'm gonna have to, how do you say that? Forego that question or skip that question.
Okay.
It's not that I would like to help those guys, but it's not my forte. It's not something that I've ever focused on. So I just.
Okay. That's fine. Okay. So, some people will say, well, we don't want to encourage people to love their bodies the way they are, because then we're encouraging them to not be healthy, to be lazy, to not exercise. What do you say to those people?
Yeah, I'd say they need to look at the science and not judge a book by its cover, literally like that, because there's women who are they're size 24, 28, and they're healthier than their women who are thin. Now, that's not me ignoring the science that's not me ignoring health and the notion that adipose tissue can be unhealthy. That's not me doing that, because it really depends on where that fat is located. And I have to give credit where credit's due, but unfortunately I can't mention the name of this person. But there was a person on YouTube who made similar videos to me, and a guy, and I learned from this guy that adipose tissue, i.e. fat, that is located in the subcutaneous area of the body, of a woman's body, in other words, her la derriere, or her, her behind, that is actually not as, I mean, so actually it doesn't really give health problems. Where the problems start or may start is around the visceral fat around the organs and things like that. So when organs are blocked, or where the pressure is blocking certain things from the body, like blood flow, for example, and of course arteries and things. But but that also depends on a lot of different other factors. You have genetic predispositions like PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. You have people that either have had hormone treatments, or certain medications that have hormones in them, or because of a genetic defect or a genetic inheritance from someone who's taken a lot of medications their whole lives with hormones. You have people with thyroid issues. I mean, PCOS also thyroid-based condition, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm not an expert in these things. But I'm just saying that it's not a, if I say that correctly, a one-shoe-fits-all kind of deal. It's not that, if I look at that woman who's a size 26, that she is unhealthy by definition. I mean, that's wrong. And I think that people use that um, that notion too quickly, and they don't really look at the facts.
Right.
So no, I don't subscribe to people that, or how do you say it? I don't just subscribe to that theory. I just
Okay.
yeah. It can be, but it doesn't have to be.
So
And
what are,
also, sorry,
go
also,
ahead.
it's really none of their damn business. Now, some people might say, well, in this country we have universal health care, and I am paying for your sickness, and blah blah blah. And I think to myself, well, I mean, if that's how you think, then don't say anything, because I mean, if you don't want that to happen, then just don't say anything, and then that person is going to live their life. I mean, if according to you they're going to die faster, then that's in your advantage. So what the hell are you worrying about? And I'm not
Right.
trying to be harsh here, but I'm just trying to like show people, like, this kind of thinking is just, it's off. It doesn't make sense to think like that. It's none of
Right.
your business, you know.
Right. Okay. One more question. When you date a plus size woman, what are some of the things that you might do to make her feel at ease?
Uh, it's a really good question, because one of my biggest, supposedly it has to do with my star sign. I'm a Cancer, by the way. It's one of the biggest things with cancers, that we always try to make people feel at ease with us, especially the ones that we date romantically. Um, for me, well, one of the things that I do or don't do is I don't rush. Like, I don't care if when we have sex. I really don't care. I don't care if it doesn't happen in the first 3 months. I really don't care. Um, so I'm patient. I ask questions that are not pushy, but that are just to do with that woman's character. I'd like to take her to a place where she feels comfortable, and that can be her own house. It's I wouldn't want to take her to my house, because then I mean, hypothetically speaking, in the past, in those situations. Um, I wouldn't want to do that, because I always wanted to make sure that they feel at ease. With regards to their bodies, I think that's something that should already have been established the moment that I've met them, whether it's on a dating site or in public. I'm very open about my admiration. I talk about my channels. I talk about my website. So if it's someone that I meet in public, then I will make that known very quickly. That's also how I have interviewed some people in the past. Actually, I did an interview a couple of years ago with a lady who lived close to where I lived back then, and I actually told her about my channel. But I wasn't dating her. So yeah, so so not being pushy, talking about showing interest in her, meeting at her place or someplace neutral, and just talking about my admiration also. And if they ask questions, give concise but also detailed answers, so they don't feel that it's just something physical for me. So it's not easy because every woman is different, but those are four things that I can think
Okay.
of off the top of my head.
Well, that's the end of my questions. Is there anything that you'd like to add on your own that you think is important?
I thought this was going to be like an hour and a half, or
Well, I allow an hour and a half in case we get off on tangents and end up needing all that time.
I tend to do that.
Yeah. So if there's anything else you want to add, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody how they can find your channel and your website?
So the website's curvyshrine.com. So that's CURVY, and then SHRINE.com. And it's also Curvy Shrine. If you just go to youtube.com/Curvy Shrine, or you do Curvy Shrine, one word or two words, you'll find it in the search field. I've got about 150 videos on there right now. I used to have a lot more, but I deleted a lot. I have playlists on there. I've got a playlist about plus-size women with photos who submit photos and a story, and I answer those stories. I've got videos or playlists about fat admirers and everything that we find beautiful and attractive, and I've also got a playlist called The Binge Watcher with all the videos. So so that's how people can find me. And I'm really nowhere on social media other than YouTube. I do have an Instagram account, but I don't post on it, so it's just for being able to browse.
Okay.
Profiles.
And you said that people do email you. Do you have an email address that they can reach you?
Yes, that's curvyshrine@gmail.com. So it's also Curvy Shrine.
Okay.
One word basically. And whether I have any questions for you. Did you
I hadn't thought of that, but you could ask some if you wanted.
I thought that's what you said.
Okay, well, you certainly can ask questions if you like.
I just one burning question that I have for you is, when you first discovered this whole fat admiration or guys liking larger women, how was that for you? Like, did you not believe it, or tell me, like how was that experience for you?
You mean when I mentioned the website that my husband and I found, and when we first discovered that? Is that what you mean?
Well, yeah. That would be.
So when we met online, and this was my second husband. I'm no longer with him, not anything to do with this, just he had some controlling behavior issues that I couldn't live with. But anyway, when we first got together online, we exchanged pictures because I was considering going to where he was at to visit him, and we exchanged pictures. And he said, well, will you send me a nude picture? And I said, well, you do the same. So we did, we exchanged pictures. And he said, well, I was afraid that your body type would be a turnoff, but it's not. And so then we started looking at these websites. I don't remember the name of the website, it's been 10 years ago, but where people would write in about their experiences, and guys would say, I love my wife's little muffin top, or I, love that I put my arms around her and her behind is so large, and I love to put my hands on it. They were, and I was really surprised because I didn't know things like that existed. But the more I was with him, he had been a nudist in the past. He had been a clothing optional person. And so whenever we were at home, as soon as he would walk in the door, all the clothes would come off. And he wanted me to do the same. And it was encouraging to me that there were people that this would not bother them, that a plus size woman was walking around with no clothes on. So it was a surprise to me. But now that I'm older, I just find that I'm open to anything, basically. Whereas when I was younger, I'll just say this. when I was in college, right after high school, I did 4 years of college. And I probably looked better in the eyes of the world. When I use the word better, I mean what they would consider better. I was probably thinner then than I've ever been during those 4 years, and I got 0 dates those whole 4 years. But now that I'm larger and more confident, I think the confidence has a lot to do with it. When you're confident, I don't have any trouble finding dates. So that's sort of the way it's been.
Yeah, with confidence, it's interesting because some guys are just attracted to confidence in a woman and they don't really care about the body type. And
Right.
some guys, they are attracted to plus size women, but then when they're not confident, they think, well, I don't want to be with a woman like that because I constantly have to remind her that she's beautiful. And guys just hate doing that. And I hate doing it too. I mean, I love just saying it every day, but not when it has to be a necessity. Not that it has to be a necessity, but I mean, I don't like it when she doesn't really believe it herself, or I say it one day, but the next day it's kind of like in this ear, out the other. You know, it's not
Right.
really, it hasn't sank in with her. So
Right.
I do like to say it when she's confident. Um, One thing that I actually just thought of when you were talking about this, giving you your answer, is you asked me about tips for plus size women. When they're on dating sites, I also would like to add this. Don't take pictures from a high angle because that diminishes your body, and it basically tells the guy like, oh, she just wants to make herself smaller. I know some women do that and some guys too, to increase the better lighting options, and it definitely works for that. But when you do that, when you create those photos, you make yourself appear smaller or less tall. And for some guys, it's a red flag. So I just wanted to add to that as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Um, so so you say that, but then so you were surprised by men having that attraction.
Yeah.
Did you believe it at first, or did it take a long time to change that belief system or your belief?
No, I believed it. I just had never heard of it. I didn't think people would be there writing their life stories and posting them if they didn't mean it. And obviously my husband meant it because he definitely never made comments about my appearance turning him off. And my husband now definitely has made me feel that he definitely accepts me the way I am. So,
Okay, but accepts you the way you am or loves the way you are?
he says both. You
Okay,
know, I definitely have no fears that he doesn't.
okay.
He's very adamant.
This is why I mean, I'm asking this because I really I despise, and I've used it myself, this term, but when I started thinking about this, I thought, no, this isn't right. I despise the term fat acceptance because I'm not like, when I do my videos, I'm not like, oh, please accept this fat, you know. No, it's fat admiration. I love women who look like this. When you ask people to accept something, yeah, I mean, yeah, it can be beneficial, but that's just like
Right.
I don't want women to just accept themselves. I want them to look at themselves, maybe not necessarily through my eyes, but I like to give them some ways to look at themselves. For example, you know, stretch marks, you know, what does remind that you of, or what does that remind you of? If I look at a sky with stratus clouds, I believe they're called, you know, they look very similar. So you know, if you internalize that and you look at yourself, that's how you start loving yourself. You have to, I understand you have to go through acceptance first, but you ultimately want to be in a place where you love yourself. So that's why I don't like fat acceptance, and that's why I don't like it
Right.
when I hear a guy say like, I accept my woman the way she is. No, I love her the way she is. So
Right.
I'm not wanting to judge your husband or anything, but I'm just saying like it usually does kind of trigger me because I really want to focus on the love.
Well, I think those were my words, not his. When I said he accepts it, He didn't use that word, I did.
Oh,
So
okay.
he's never used those words. The only thing he tells me every day is, you're the best person I've ever been with. You are the kindest, nicest, most wonderful person. I'm happier than I've ever been. Those are the kind of things that he says.
You know, that's absolutely, that's it's good that you bring that up, because people sometimes ask me, like, can you be with a skinny woman? And I say, well, it depends on how skinny she is, or how skinny she is, but I definitely can fall in love with a woman like that. For me, the most important thing is, well, I don't have to fall it. Well, I don't have to have butterflies, but I need to love her, you know. And I've met women in my past who were BBWs, and you know, then I would think, like, there was one woman, for example, I said to herself, or I said to her, like, I don't care anymore, like, if you're this size or that size, that's not important for me anymore. But at that point, I had fallen in love with her, and ultimately, that's what you want, and that's maybe a good way to close this interview. Um, you know, I want to say to people, like, okay, you know, you have a physical preference, but what's most important is the love between you two. And I do
Right,
try to incorporate that in my videos, but I can't let that be the focus, because that's not what the channel is about. That's not what the mission is about. So
right.
while I
Abs-
don't focus on it, it is definitely for my private life and personal life, and for what I'd like to carry out to people. It's definitely important.
Okay. Well, thanks so much for being here. I really appreciate you talking to me. And
Thank you for having me.
everybody go over and see curvyshrine.com and the Curvy Shrine YouTube channel. And everybody, please tune in tomorrow for tomorrow's episode. See you next time.